what's up? Red Panda Anthem. Red Panda, what's good? Red Panda Anthem.
I know we talked about the Russia-Ukraine situation, but you have 10 things that you need to know, that everybody needs to know about the market we're in right now?
Yeah. One of the biggest things geopolitically is, like, I think we failed to show support to the Ukraine, but we couldn't have. But I think if Biden would have supported Ukraine a little bit earlier, I think that could have been a great rallying point. The part that I don't like is how Black people are being treated in Ukraine. So I have complete compassion. But when I see 3-month-old babies and 9-month-old babies being pushed off a train,
not even getting access to the train,
that's heartbreaking. So we have to take care of our own affairs. Secondly, I think that the stock market meme mania that happened with GameStop in last year, shout out Jorge, you made 125 grand last year off of it, was created to help Robinhood's IPO. Because since then, Robinhood hasn't went up that much. Great company, but what if some of these metrics were inflated to get a higher IPO? You have to be mindful when looking at the long term of what to invest in. Unfortunately, Citadel was short Activision before Microsoft bought it. So to my good friends over at Citadel, call me, crystal ball, I'll let you use it for a little bit, right? But it always tells you shouldn't be short. There's really no upside benefit to be short a stock a long period of time. Right? They took a trading strategy and applied it to long-term investing. Like, why would you do that? Russian stock market, of course, hit 45%. And this is why we always say, please do not invest in countries that are not the top 3 or 5.
Or just international investing, period. Like, even during my financial advising days, I always stayed away and told my clients stay away from international funds. Because international funds, the international market has kind of underperformed the American market over the last decade. But then also it's just too volatile. Anything can happen. Like, and the government can come and take control over a situation, geopolitical stuff. And it's like, when you invest internationally, you got to take that into consideration. So it was like real trendy a few years ago. Everybody wanted to do like international funds and international stocks, but it's like,
we saw what happened in China.
So Luke and Coffee.
Don't do that.
Why you have to point at me?
No.
Like, damn, man.
No, I'm just saying. You gotta be careful.
Oh God.
You gotta be careful.
You gotta be careful when you invest in it. So me personally, I'm not really a big fan of investing in international, because there's too much stuff and it's too many moving parts. These countries are too delicate and it's not the same as America.
Yeah, I mean, the information we're getting is third hand.
Even though we have international viewers. So
love you guys.
Shout out to everybody from all over the world that checks us out. And, obviously America's not the only credible country in the world, but just be mindful and understand if you invest in countries that you don't live in, especially, abroad, and you just kind of just hear it from your friend, like, this is a good idea to invest in, this country.
Yeah, study the Bovespa, the FTSE here. There's some good companies in the FTSE, but you have to then compare and say, are they better than the top 5 that we have here? If not, then if Apple was founded here, I would be pro investing here. It's just about who's going to give me the highest.
And there's some good companies, like we just talked about, Adidas, Pumas. Like, there are good company brands that have an American stronghold that are not American companies. Pretty much every foreign car company that we think of, BMW, Mercedes, they're good companies. So it's like, it's not like every good company comes from America. It just so happens that the majority of the top companies are American-based companies. It's just, not to say it's a bias, but it's just the world that we live in.
Yeah, if you look at the top 5 market caps.
50 years from now, that might change.
Good.
Yeah. But as of right now, the majority of the top companies, Tesla, Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Facebook, those are all American companies.
Yeah. And then the final point, no one cares about risk management when the market is booming, but it hurts the most when the market starts to slide. So you have to be very mindful when everything is on fire and you hear everyone like, yo, I made $9,000 in 2 minutes. That usually is only going to last for so long. You always have to be prepared. And when I'm like, hey, these prices are going to drop, and people's like, you're crazy. I'm like, no, always play defense. One thing can go wrong, fighting one punch that you don't see can blind you. Like, play defense first and then you'll be good. I know you get tempted to have such big gains, but the people I see that get hurt the most, they got away from long-term. Like, they liquidated all Apple, Microsoft indexes and did all options.
So the money.
Or did all futures trading.
Yeah.
And then you get addicted to trading, as you talked about with the gambling, and then your account blows up, and now you lost long-term and your short-term profits. And now
there's a correction or a conflict.
So Jessica, what's your advice on it? You said, trading is not gambling, but it could become synonymous with gambling.
Wait. Let me tell you why. Real quick.
I know some gamblers, Jess.
I know some gamblers too, a lot of them, right? And I do not subscribe to that or them. But what I will say is, like, when it comes to trading currency, do not take a trade if you don't know why you're in it. Right? We're not just chasing the money. So you can have a lot of volatility, and people have FOMO. So they'll see the market literally shifting up and they'll be like, oh, I need to buy.
I need to jump in.
Why do you need to buy though? What data is supporting you buying this? When I took that trade on Euro JPY, I literally in my mind took the trade because Japanese yen is a safe haven currency. So ultimately I know that is going to go up. Euro, we're on European soil. There is a complete war that's happening on European territory. So I am going to sell Euro JPY, right? I had a substantial basis as to why I took that trade. So there is a such thing as of course gambling, but I do not believe trading and gambling are synonymous if you take your trades based off of substantial data as to why you're taking them and executing them. Now, of course, like we talked about, our technicals align with this. So even when you guys ask me, like I know you asked me, okay, what are the plays? When it comes to oil, I can give that because I can see it clear as day. With gold, because it already hit my reversal level, like I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, gold is going to do this right now, because in the foreign exchange market, and I know people listening to me, I'm not about to tell you to place this position right now when I know you could lose a lot of money if you don't understand your pullbacks and your entries. Right now, gold is literally sitting at a weekly and a monthly level, which means there's a lot of consolidation in those 2 points. So what it's doing is literally ranging between 1881 and 1927. But once it breaks out of that, I have it going to 2050. Right. So, but also it's a daily trend line that's under there. So like, it's kind of real technical based in regards to that. But when you said like even holding long term, you can hold long term if you understand why that's happening when it comes to forex. Only when it comes to forex, because you're dealing with 2 different economies. So 2 different economies, anything can happen at any given time. And I know you said don't invest in companies internationally, but when you understand, I agree. Don't invest in companies internationally, but currency wise, right? We can make money off of those movements. We got 70 to 100 pips a day, 100 pips on 10 standards. Even when you talk about that, especially because we have leverage positions, 10 standards on 100 pips is literally $10,000. You know what I'm saying? And if you understand why you're in that position, you make money from that position. But my number one rule to investing is always understand where you are in the market. Technicals,
broad picture.
Always understand where you are in the market. Again, don't get caught up on minor structure in the smaller time frame so much that you don't understand the bigger time frame, but also don't get caught up only in the bigger time frame that you're negating your entries and just hopping in wherever, because entries are important, right? And then it's no different than understand where you are in the economic cycle.
Never enter a position before you know you're going to exit.
A whole lot of game. Troy, before we wrap, what stocks are you looking at? I know you recently purchased Disney.
Disney, and
how's that working out?
It's doing pretty well.
Price.
I think I got it at 142. So I had into the position at around 160. I had a call at 160. Obviously, it fell back, and then I got back into a 155 position, 155 call for January 23, and that's been doing well. CrowdStrike, one of those companies, obviously. Cybersecurity was one of those sectors that I hadn't had an investment in, and so I said, "This is a prime position to be in." I spoke to Trap about that. I know he loves CrowdStrike, and so even with the market pullback, those 2 have been doing well. Live Nation,
drinks on you for CrowdStrike.
Live Nation reported a couple, maybe last week, and I've been talking about that for over maybe 2 years. And obviously with COVID. Prayerfully, being the restrictions being pulled back and the amount of cases being dropped. I think we got over 80% decline in positive cases in the United States. You can see people going back outside and going back to these live events. And so those are some of the companies I've been talking about, and to see what patience can do when you just believe in a company and their fundamentals. That's what can happen.
I know, like John Deere at 327, it's at 360 now. Companies are actually, here's the interesting concept. companies that actually make products that people love and buy consistently will do very well. 2020, everyone like we had Jeremy Lin across all markets. Shout out to Jeremy Lin.
Shout out to Jeremy.
But now we get to see
It was Linsanity.
who really can play.
Yeah.
So what companies have good leadership, good business model, good structure. The ones that are best are rising to the top, and the ones that were horrible just now falling apart.
And who's going to be D Booker, right? Who's going to be Devin Booker in these, right? Like the guy that's going to give you quietly just average 26 a game.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All-star, like that's that type of consistency. Because I mean, shout out to Linsanity.
Yeah.
He lit it up for 7 games. And had a career. Had a good career. Just, you know, it wasn't what it wasn't in the Guardian for those 7 games.
It was longer than 7 games.
That when
What was
he
it,
lit up?
14?
It was like 2 months, like 8 weeks, 6 weeks, at least 6 weeks.
6
at least
weeks?
6-week run. Yeah, 6-week run.
Was that a contract year?
Yes, it was.
But was Melo in New York?
Yes.
He's playing for
He had
his life.
6 weeks. Yes,
I'm giving
yeah.
him 7.
He was on the cover of Time magazine.
Yeah.
That's legend.
Because of who
That's
he did
legend.
it against.
No. That, but then also just this whole story.
The story's incredible.
He was killing for a month, at least a month.
That could be 7 games.
No, it was longer than 7. It was longer than 7.
Put in chat how many games Jeremy Lin
It was
killed
longer.
for.
Yeah.
But do you want Jeremy Lin or try to be LeBron? I'm gonna get credit to you guys. I'm gonna pick Michael. Even in that debate, when we go to macros, what do we talk about first? The history of their career. That's looking at the entirety of this market. We didn't talk about one game versus one game. We went through the history.
Right.
So anything asset you want to invest in, look at the entirety of it. For real estate, it's comps. It's the same thing. Look at the entire span, and you should know what to invest in based on that.
Wow, this is so great.
Yeah.
It's so great because like even when he said like, you know, to buy the VIX and stuff like that, like I'm like, wait, like everything
can
is
see
so
it.
many things
Yeah.
that's like so aligned.
Yeah.
It's so many things that's so aligned. Even when he was talking about like buy bonds right now, like that's what you're supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? Where is the big money putting their money?
That please write
Follow
that
the money.
down.
Follow the money.
There's 100 ways you can trade, but only really 1 or 2 ways to make money.
Where's the big money putting their money? That's what you need to understand.
Where's the big money putting
And if
their
the big money isn't there, it doesn't matter.
Follow the money.
And then when it comes to currency, bonds is what gives currency its value. Bonds are
Yeah.
promissory notes.
I'm glad you said that. Follow, because even when we were showing, especially with these companies, how much of the company is institutional investment versus retail investment?
Can I be honest? There's no such thing as a powerful retail trader. I know you don't want to hear it, but go look at the ones who worked at Goldman, Citadel, JP Morgan, worked in government, who traded these things up out of their personal accounts and then said they were retail traders. We lived a real life episode of Billions in 2020 and 21. Even with how they destroyed Kathy and all that, like, come on, man, like it's not, there's not enough people to come together to move a market like that when you have governments and family offices with 300 billion on the low end to put into a market. A lie always sounds better though. Diplomatic immunity.
There you have it. Ladies and gentlemen, another legendary episode live from London.
This that Red Panda Anthem. Ian, what's up? This that Red Panda Anthem. Red Panda, what's good? Red Panda Anthem.